John Dolan, you have 12 minutes, Senator.
Good morning, and welcome to the Minister. Shannon reform, the more I hear people, and forgive me if I say this, the more I hear people say, I'm all in favour of Seanad reform, it reminded me of something that Pierpoint, our hangman, is supposed to have said to one of his subjects: son, I'm here to help. And I can't believe everybody when they say, at this stage, 13, 14 reports and we're over and back and over and back. We could do things tomorrow morning in this House that would show we're reformative. And the issue of cost. Look, if we think the House has a valued role, right, that's looking at not just its cost, but its value. So what's the value add? What's the opportunity cost of having the House? We saw posters with 20 million splashed up on them. This is what it's costing, trying to frighten people into not supporting keeping the Seanad. But if the only issue is really cost, wouldn't we say, let's agree to disagree on areas of reform and put forward a menu that we'll all accept, and then sit down with the smart people. They might be in deeper, they know an awful lot about cutting things and cutting cloth to measure, and actually work out a cost. But why would you let a technical issue stop you discussing the principal issue? And that bothers me. The organisation that I'm also employed by, the Disability Federation of Ireland, in 2003 put pen to paper in public submission to one of those reviews. And we were invited, notice it, I was sitting in one of those seats in 2003 with the committee and my chairman. I might as well have been. Like, we have to stop. You can't keep saying you're for reform when it's actually, there's actually little or nothing happening. We supported, and we did it as a nominating body. We actually held a process. If people wanted to, and I'm going back to 2007, 11, and a different one in 2016, where candidates were asked, when they'd ring up, say, yeah, we have a process, there are criteria, come in, and we had a committee, and we nominated people, someone in 2007, someone else in 11, and then we had a different process the last time, which was based on the idea of the nominating bodies working collectively, not individually, and pooling their resources. So there are ways to deal with these things, and there are groups and organisations out there who have a real embedded interest in what the Seanad is about. We have 60 members of the Seanad coming through 3 different groups. The vocational panels, and I won't name them, but they all come from what it says on the name. Yeah? Then you have 11 that are from the Taoiseach's nominees, and you have the 6, isn't that it, universities. Isn't it funny that 2 of them are named by where they come from, not what they're about? And the point that was made, I think it was Senator McDougall made it earlier, I think there is room, it was in the report I think, there is room that we have discussions, debates and statements around the activities of the nominating bodies. Right? There's 43 senators here, 2/3 of the Senate is elected through vocational panels. And since 1938, what we're now accepting is there hasn't been one discussion here that was based around the objectives of a vocational panel. Doesn't that actually say something about how this entity has been, if you like, almost warped since the day it began? I was happy to be a part of that. Oh, let me say, and think of it now, supposing Mr. Trump turned up in the morning and said he wanted to abolish one of the houses in the US, we'd all be agog. All be agog. And I'm just going to, I'm just going, without interruption now, Minister.
Senator McDowell.
Oh, they're all at it now.
Senator McDowell.
But mention was made by Senator McDowell to former Senator and now deceased Fergal Quinn, and I want to add to that Noel Whelan. Fergal was the chair of Democracy Matters, and he actually phoned me one day and asked me would I be part of it. And I was happy to be involved. I didn't play anything like a significant part in it because of other things going on at the time, but I could see the mastery of himself, Noel, and others. And the last occasion I met Noel, I invited him in here. I said this on Order of Business the morning after he passed away. I brought him in here to speak to the nominating bodies of the public admin panel. And he's entertaining and he goes over and back and around, and I cut it down very crisp. He said, and he used this analogy, he said, in 1989, if someone suggested we get rid of the other house of the Oireachtas, the Uachtaráin, the presidency, it might get legs, might take off. But he said, would anyone dare even suggest it now? No. Why not? Has the Constitution been changed? Not a dot. The behaviour of the members of that House has altered. Their vision, their way of operating. Now, they might be right and left and this and that, but they had a better or a different way of seeing their role. The two Marys and the present incumbent, Michael D. Higgins. So how you behave and how I behave and how each of us behaves does make a difference. And we could do a number of things in that regard. There is, back to the cost, flip the coin. What's the value? There is, in my view, huge multiples of extra value to be got out of this House. We are just chugging along. Chug, chug, chug. We haven't had a service in decades. So I think that's where the question has to go. I think, and I'll say it, I think parties, political parties, have a problem, a real problem with this. It's like a cash cow. Every senator that signs a party pledge is an asset, an income, a resource to that party. That's a fact. That's valuable. If I had that in my back pocket, I wouldn't want to be handing it over. So I think, and without embarrassment, I think that the key parties in relation to this need to sit down and find a way to unlock that. I'll raise another issue, which might be closer to the board. There's about 21 of the 43 vocational seats, right, that come through the vocational, that come through the nominating bodies.
The outside panel.
The outside panel, as they're called. Right. The majority of those seats are won by people who have signed and committed to a party pledge. Now, how do you discharge your responsibility to that and at the same time to the knowledge, experience and vocational panel that you have become a member of? That is an issue that needs, where am I in the time, Cathaoirleach?
A minute and a half.
Oh, a little bit of latitude, Gormargaret.
Just thinking of the minister has to have an opportunity.
The vocation, oh yes, the vocational voices, knowledge and experience. Like if you cut this House down the middle, where you have people who have come from the Oireachtas side, you have a few others that have come in through the Taoiseach's nominees, and you had people with knowledge and experience of those 5 areas, never mind reforming them for a minute. You could have class act debates about what needs to be done, but also people who have knowledge and connections outside the front door right across civil society, from labour, industry, agriculture and whatever in here. And we could first fix a lot of issues and provide a lot and true involvement in committees as well. So the value add would be absolutely fascinating. I'll finish with this. We put a lot of stock in democratic elections and the people, and Senator Ronan Mullen spoke well about it, and having people elected who are absolutely attuned to real issues for people on the ground. The Shannon election is absolutely umbilically connected through the Constitution to the election to the Dáil. But if you ask people generally, do they know how people get in here? They haven't a clue. They have not got a clue. You're the loneliest man or woman in the country trying to get elected to this House. Nobody knows what you're doing. And I'd ask people to reflect on that. We can elect a House to this Oireachtas where the election is almost like the election to a secret society. There's much more to be said. I've enjoyed and learned from contributions that I have heard tonight. But we can be reformative. I've given a few suggestions already by the way we actually behave in the House, and indeed how whoever would be Taoiseach again the next time would even deal with the 11 Taoiseach's nominees. There are a number of practical things that can be done, as the fellow said tomorrow. Gormagus.
Senator Dolan.